cars are extremely reliable.
Why shouldn't you buy one of these?
If you don't like this generation of M, you will not like the successor that is to come.
What's up guys, welcome back for another episode. So in a little bit, we're gonna have a certified BMW technician come over to my house and we're gonna hit him with all the hard questions, right? About why you should get a G80, a G82, and if you guys into convertibles, the G83. Because we're also gonna get some insight about the next generation M3 that we're gonna force to get information out of him because he's gone through some training and we're gonna get as much information as we can to enlighten you guys a little bit. But we're gonna hear exactly why you should get a G8X. So we get the certified BMW tech. You guys may have seen him before. We got the Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker duo again, but we're down here in South Florida and we're about to pick his brain. So Ben, introduce yourself to the channel for the ones that don't know. You know, you're a BMW certified tech, right?
Yeah, so like Ken said, for the ones who are tuning into this video who don't know who I am, hi, I'm Ben. I am a certified BMW technician. I work very far away from where I'm currently at right now here at Ken's house. But I made the drive down so that me and him could wash the CS that some of you guys have seen in previous videos. But again, if you're tuning in, this is my 2025 BMW M4 CS finished in individual Riviera blue. And the way you're seeing it now, again, for those who have seen the previous videos, it was glossy the last time you guys saw it when I did my reveal. But I had my detailers, Detail Ground, I had them install a matte or a stealth PPF finish on everything that is Riviera blue, and then everything else that is glossy, which would be obviously all the carbon fiber, all the piano black trim around the car, the headlights, the front lip, the side skirts, all of that just got regular gloss PPF.
And right now what we're gonna be doing is, we're kind of gonna be doing a wash cast, right? For the ones that don't know, a wash cast for me is to wash the car on camera and have a conversation, right? So that's what we're gonna do. But we're also gonna pick your brain because again, you are a certified BMW technician. You've been a BMW technician for how long now?
Close to 4.5 years. I've been with the brand for, about 4.5 years now. I've loved and hated every moment of it. So it's definitely been rewarding, and we'll get into that more as we get into the vlog because I was able to experience something that not a lot of technicians get to experience, which was really cool, and a lot of what I experienced is going to also translate into this car and future videos and modifications.
So all right, so as you can see, Ben just drove down, and here in Florida we have something called love bugs. So his car is heavily pelted with love bugs. And what we're gonna do is just go through the whole process. We're gonna get some foaming action done. And the reason why we're doing it in the garage is because it's like 95 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's hot.
Super hot. We have the AC blaring there. So, and you're probably one of the first cars, or actually first guests to be in this garage in this new setup. Between the lighting, if you guys haven't seen those vlogs, we did the lighting, we did the flooring, and now we're gonna do the washing. So, all right, so we're gonna be using Built and Hamber. This is a touchless, like a pre-soaked foam because this car is extremely dirty. So we're gonna set this up and then enjoy all the B-roll with all the foaming action. Okay, you guys are probably thinking, why are you washing the car inside? Again, we went over it, right? We are basically in a stage where it's way too hot outside and you don't want to wash the car in direct sunlight, number one. Number two, you also don't want to wash when it's very hot too, because the soap gets dried up. That's why we're inside. And you guys are probably wondering, what am I going to do with all the excess water here? Two things, right, I have working for me. One thing is I have a mini split in the garage that's going to help evaporate all the water and any standing water. Number two, I'm going to have a dehumidifier after Ben finished washing his car. We're going to have that run about a few hours. And since it's so hot already, a lot of this water is going to be out and I'm not going to have any problems. If you are washing the car inside the garage, you're going to want to take those 2 steps. I know a lot of people don't have an AC in the garage, but just buy a dehumidifier on Amazon and to keep, mold from happening and to keep your garage nice and clean. But Ben, right now we're using this step is to basically emulsify a lot of the dirt, a lot of the stuff that shouldn't be on the car, bug guts.
Yeah.
And if you go close to it, you can kind of hear that foam in action, right? A little bit like, it's like you're opening a soda. It's not that loud, but you can hear it.
Right.
And what's going on is that we're making sure that before we start washing the car with the soap and stuff, this is an extra step to prevent from any damages. But to be honest, your car's fully PPF, so technically you don't have to worry about that.
Technically, yeah.
So we'll probably wait about another 30 seconds and then we're gonna basically rinse the car off, foam it again with some additional soap, the pH neutral soap, and then you'll be on your way to wash it. All right, taking a closer look, that pre-wash step definitely helped emulsify a lot of the bug guts off the windshield. But the car's pretty much done. All right, Ben, you're done.
Yeah, pretty much done.
I'm kidding. All right, so we're gonna foam up the car, but Ben, as you get that set up, let's just talk to the people why you chose the M4 CS. And we're gonna get into exactly why a certified BMW tech thinks it's a good idea to get into one. And we're actually gonna be washing the wheels first, which we should have done earlier. I'm not gonna lie, I got kind of distracted, but all right, so Ben, as you're washing your wheels,
Yep.
why did you choose a M4 CS?
Well, a little backstory for the people again who are watching who don't know me or just now discovering this channel, but before this I owned a F80 M3 and that was essentially my dream car. It took me a while to find the spec that I wanted. I wanted a mineral white one with Shakir orange interior. I also wanted a competition. And the one that I found was a very interesting spec because it is what we would call a stripper spec. And because of it being a stripper spec, it had all the in-performance parts on it. So it had the MP steering wheel, front bumper, lip, rear trunk spoiler, so on and so forth. But it was super nice in that aspect. So I told myself when I lost that vehicle that if I was to get another BMW, one, it would have to be brand new. Two, it would have to be something very special, something limited edition, like a CS or something like that. And I just didn't see it possible because I really wanted a M3 CS, but unfortunately I was unable to get an allocation for one. So I just didn't see myself getting another BMW. I was looking at Porsche, I was looking at Aston Martin, and this showed up on a Friday when I was leaving work at 5 o'clock, and at 5:30 I purchased it, and this car met all the criteria that I wanted, right? It's a special edition. They're only making 1,700 worldwide. It's an individual color, individual Riviera blue, and it's brand new. So I got it off of my dealership showroom floor with 0 miles. And like I said, it checked all the boxes, so it made sense to make the purchase.
Ben, is this the first time you're actually washing your own car? Like this one?
Oh yeah. Last time was with the F80.
So one thing Ben's experiencing right now is that how difficult these wheels are to wash. Look at all the unique patterns. This is probably just as bad as the stock wheels on the G80. Actually, they are. They pretty much are just as bad.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're absolutely terrible. It's just like the 666s back in the day with the comp wheels. Every detailer I ever spoke to or talked to or whatever, they said they absolutely hated those wheels just because of how complex they were to get in all the nooks and crannies.
Okay, so Ben, you've had a lot of experience with G80s, right, and G8Xs, because again, you work on them a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I know we've gone through this a few times, but how reliable are they? Do you think these cars will go 5+ years, you know, not have any major issues, or even longer than that?
Yeah, absolutely. These cars are extremely reliable. We have not seen any big issues with these vehicles. I definitely believe that they can go 5+ years without having any major issues. Just because of the way they were built. I mean, I've said it before in previous videos, but when BMW, when they make an M car, they put a lot more time and effort into that car than they would just, per se a regular 3 or 4 Series, right? Because there's a lot more money in the design and development of the vehicle itself. So just having that in mind, obviously the car is going to be built better, it's going to last longer, things are going to, perform better. So,
I
these
think they
cars
also
have been
learned.
great.
They learned from the previous iterations, right? Like the E9X had ride bearing issues. That's why these newer cars don't have that issue.
Correct. I mean, you could say it's learning, but every time they come out with a new M, obviously there's a new drivetrain in it. So yes, you can learn from one drivetrain experience, but when you change the whole platform, right, from a V8 to an inline 6, the development behind that is obviously going to be different than, a V8. So yeah, I mean, obviously they do learn, they do listen to us, right? BMW does pay attention to the things that we say and, the things that we want. Obviously, their word is final when it comes to stuff like that and what we want as consumers. But, they do listen and they try to rectify issues that they're experiencing, right? So like, the N63, we're on like iteration 11 of that engine. And I would say that the new V8s are probably, if not the most reliable BMW right now.
Really?
Yeah, just like the G8X chassis for when it comes to, M3s and M4s and M2s, we have had 0 issues with the actual motors on the brand new V8s that BMW has been producing. And I think it was kind of like BMW's last hoorah, right?
But those have the mild hybrids, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, some of them do, some of them don't. As long as you're getting, I believe it's the S85.
Is that in the M60Is?
Yeah, that's in the M60i. That's also in the M50s. You have the 4.4 liter V8, and then you have the brand new 4 liter V8. Both of those are very good engines. Again, no problems, no issues with those engines at all.
All right, and then after he finishes the wheels, we're gonna pick his brain about why, if you're contemplating about getting a, sports car or like an everyday driver sports car, why you should get into one. And then again, he has experience now because he's owned one. So stay tuned for that segment. All right, Ben just finished washing all his nasty wheels, and then we're gonna basically foam the car again and continue with the questions. But just want to admire that product, right? So before you saw the windshield, it was pretty nasty. It's still nasty, but it did a good job of getting rid of all the bug guts.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Whatever that is, I definitely have to buy a bottle of it or like a spray bottle version of it or something because it did a great job. Like no agitation, just gone.
All right, Ben, now we're gonna ask you some of the hard questions, all right?
All right.
For you being a certified BMW technician, and for the ones that don't know, how many more classes do you need to be a master tech?
Ooh. Okay, so right now, technically, I am a member level certified technician. So I would need all of my certified level classes, which is 4. And then after that, I believe for master, it's 2. And then after that, as long as I pass them and my hands-on assessment for master, then I would be granted the title of BMW Master Technician.
Okay, so now that you guys have an understanding of what level he has and all of that, give me 5 reasons why somebody should buy a G8X. You know, if they're ones that are looking compared to like all these other sports cars or sports sedans, why should someone opt to get one?
Okay. Well, I think the biggest reason, and maybe that reasoning kind of encompasses all 5, is best bang for your buck, right? I've always said when it comes to BMWs that, and especially in the sports car category, it's definitely the best bang for your buck, because when you think about it, right? If you think about let's just say one of these go for a used, 50,000, 40,000, right? A little bit higher mileage, cool, whatever. But if you think about what other sports cars you can get in that price category, it's almost irrelevant, right? Because of the amount of car that you get, the horsepower that you get, the luxury that you get, the way the car looks, the way the car performs, handles, it sounds, I think BMWs have always been the front runner when it comes to the best bang for your buck in regards to a sports car. So I guess, that could be reason number 1. Reason number 2 is it's a BMW, right? So obviously if you own one, we already know you're not gonna use your turn signals. So if you don't use them anyway, you might as well just go ahead, switch whatever car that you're currently in now and just buy a BMW. Reason number 2 is it's a great contender. Like if you like performance, if you like going around a track, or if you like going to the drag strip, especially with these new BMWs now, how much horsepower they're making just with a simple, a few modifications, right? Downpipe and a tune, you're already at over 600 wheel horsepower, whatever it is nowadays. But they definitely hold their own weight in that aspect. So if you guys are out there and you're looking to buy, a BMW sports car, whether it be an M3, M340, M240, M2, M4, M5, whatever, I challenge you to find another car, whether it be brand new or in the used market, that gives you the same level of luxury, performance, power, handling, the way the interior looks, the way the exterior looks. I challenge you guys to try and tell me or show me something that is better.
Yeah, because like people could compare this like a CT5V, right? People have compared this car to that, or CT4V. People have compared it to the AMGs, but to be honest, the AMGs have been slacking because for a while they've switched over to a 4-cylinder turbo as their AMG vehicle, which is kind of sad, right?
Yeah, they're bringing the A back though. They're bringing it back.
Yeah, they're bringing it back. They've heard the backlash between it, so that is coming back. But one thing you mentioned, right? Best bang for your buck. And these cars are underrated. Somebody that works on BMWs, could you tell me why BMW underrates these cars? Because when BMW says this car has X amount of horsepower, it has a lot more.
Yeah.
So why is that?
Well, honestly, I think there's just a method to the madness. That's what I like to tell people. Like, BMW has a method to their madness when it comes to these cars. And I think they do it because I think when they started it, initially it wasn't intentional. But now I think that it's more intentional than it ever has been because, like I said, BMW listens to what we say. They see the things that we post. They look at the comments and whatnot. And you have so many of these, YouTubers or content creators out there nowadays that are like, yeah, BMW said this came with 550 wheel horsepower and we dynoed it and it has 600 wheel horsepower, or exactly 550 wheel horsepower. So I think they keep doing it now as more or less like a comical thing. Because obviously, they test these cars.
It's the biggest controversy because you don't hear Audi, hey, they're advertising these Audis at this much horsepower, but it really has this much more. You don't hear that from Audis or any other brand.
Correct.
You hear it a lot from BMWs.
Yeah, and I think, again, I think it's kind of like a comical thing. Like BMW's like, all right, well, we're rated at this, and we'll let them kind of figure out how much horsepower it really has. And then I think at the same time, it also helps the brand. Right? Because they're like, oh man, BMW is lying, right? We know they said 400 horsepower, but this thing's really gonna have like 450, and it kind of like puts them up there, like in the talks of things, obviously on social media and stuff. So I think it helps the brand and their, marketing in a sense.
And then exactly how much horsepower this car has. People have dynoed this. What are they dynoing this at?
So, well, the M4 CS just came out, so I don't think there's any dynos on this one particularly. But this one is rated the same as the CSL at 550 horsepower. But like I said, nobody's really dynoed them yet, but they have dynoed the M3 comp base, M4 comp and base.
What about the M3 CS? It should be the same engine and transmission, right?
It should, and I do believe that those are, I mean, excuse me, it's not that it should, it is, right? So I do believe that those are pushing, I think it was 525 or 535, so about 15 horsepower off of the mark of where BMW said that it was at.
Yeah, but when BMW advertised, it's to the crank. They're not saying to the wheels.
Correct.
So to the crank, technically, and if you're dynoing, a lot is to the wheels. So technically, you're higher. You're about like...
Oh yeah, you're a lot higher than what they're advertising because, you know, you have
drivetrain loss.
Drivetrain loss, and if it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, then you have even more loss because obviously you're spinning 4 axles instead of 2. And you know, at that sense, then obviously, yes, you know, what BMW said, 550 to the crank, you obviously have a lot more to the crank if you're getting 535, 525, because when you factor in the drivetrain loss, it has to be higher than, you know, that 550 that these ones have. You know, obviously the M3 comp and base, same with the M4 comp and base, they have, I believe, 510, and I think they got bumped up to 525 with the LCI models.
And then going into the other 4 other reasons. So give me the other 4 reasons why you should get one.
Was it 4? I thought we were on like 3 or 2.
Or whatever. Give me some more reasons.
Well, really, honestly, I just think they're a great car. I love the brand. I'm trying my best not to be biased. I've owned several BMWs. Just the technology that these cars have, like they have built-in AI. I mean, you could argue Tesla, right? Obviously, Tesla's AI system may be better. But, you know, I custom named mine, right? Because it usually would wake up with, hey, BMW. But I'm a Halo fan, so I renamed mine Cortana. But then we had another guy at the dealership who bought one, and he renamed his Jarvis from Iron Man. So that's a really cool factor. I mean, there's a lot of neat technology things that they've packed into these newer cars that I do enjoy. I do use it on a every other time basis when I do drive this car. So, you know, I like that fact because when I had my F80, you know, that was the most technologically interior, right, and infotainment-wise car that I've had to date. And it was nothing compared to, obviously, this chassis with the massive iDrive 8 screen and then everything else that it can do.
What about, like, I'm sure people would want to figure out, I'm sure you're not buying it just for looks and just the way, you know, how much power you push, but how does it drive? Because people say like, hey, you're losing a lot of the drivability of it. It feels a little numb. And obviously every generation you go through, you're gonna have more technology to help you out when you're driving. So how does this car feel to you? For somebody that's owned older BMWs and have driven a lot when you're working on these clapped out BMWs.
Fair enough. You know, it's funny because I actually get that question quite often. Some of my coworkers ask me, you know, how does it feel or how does it compare to, you know, the F80 when it comes to drivability, how it handles, so on and so forth. And from what I've experienced, right, working on, you know, comp and base M3 and M4s and test driving them, obviously with the customer's permission, this car, this one specifically, the CS, feels somewhat similar in how raw the F80 was, right? The F80 to me was a very raw car. Even though it had electronic power steering, everything about it just kind of was a punch, right? When you shifted, it was a punch. When you floored it, it was a punch, you know, so on and so forth. And it kind of felt like, almost like you were more in control of that car than what you are in this car. But I think that because this is a CS model, they kind of gave it a little bit more aggression, which I do like. So I think this car handles phenomenal. I mean, Ken's asking me these questions, but Ken knows I only have like 500 miles in the car right now, so I really haven't had like the chance to like take it around any corners or do anything too crazy, so on and so forth. But for the, you know, 500-600 miles that I do have on this car right now, it does feel phenomenal. The chassis is very stiff in comparison to your, you know, your normal, you know, competition or base model. It's very stiff, and I like that fact about it because, you know, obviously it'll handle better around corners and, you know, just driving on a day-to-day basis, you know, you actually feel the car. It doesn't feel like you're just sitting in something that's just moving.
So you got maybe one more reason, because I don't know how many we've already come across, but give me one more reason why somebody should buy a G8X.
I'd say buy it if you want it, right? I think a lot of people nowadays, I feel like they buy cars based off of other people and other people's opinion, right? When these cars first came out, a lot of people were like, oh, that car's ugly. I would never own one of those. The front end looks terrible. BMW should have kept it the way it was. How it looked with the F80, you know, blah, 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 blah. All that talk, all that rah-rah. 6 months later, now everybody and their grandmother owns one. So I would say another reason to buy it is if you really want it, don't let anyone else convince you not to get it. Don't do it for the clout. Don't do it for social media. You know, do it because you want to do it, because that's something that you want. So don't let anyone else's opinion on the car change your mindset of what you want.
And also too, like you said, it's reliable, right? So people are pushing 800 horsepower or 700 horsepower reliably, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because something about this car has forged internals, right?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, every M car will have a section, excuse me, not a section, but a segment of the engine that is forged. Obviously, the crank is going to be forged. And the way that the block is assembled, it's assembled to be able to hold more horsepower. It's a little more difficult to explain than it is to show you physically, but I physically can't show you. So obviously, yeah, they are built to withstand more horsepower. You know, these BMWs, they love to be beat on, right? If you drive it like Miss Daisy, you're gonna have more issues.
That's me. That's me.
That's Ken, yeah. You're gonna have more issues driving it like Miss Daily than if, you know, you drive it like it's meant to be driven, right? It'll give you less problems that way. So, yeah, these things, they love to be beat on, as I'm covered in.
Why shouldn't you buy one of these?
That's such
this might go viral.
Who knows? I feel like that's such a tough question to ask, right? And it's also a tough answer. Obviously, don't buy one if you can't afford it, right? And I say that.
People are always wondering, how can you afford one?
I work extremely hard.
Yeah, and also too, you were in the military. You have a pension from the military, right?
No, I wish. I definitely wish. And if it was, they'd pay me $100 and they'd take back 99. Okay. That's how the saying goes. But yeah, if you can't afford one, don't buy one. Just based off of my experience, I've seen so many people, whether it's this generation of M, the previous generation, or even the previous generation to that, they'll buy one, they can afford the monthly payment, but they can't afford to fix the issues, right? And then obviously, you know, BMW is going to probably charge you a little bit more than the shop that you may go to, you know, outside of BMW. Yeah, sure, whatever. But when it comes to like safety related things like tires, you know, I see so many M's with mucho macho tires on them, and I'm so serious.
You guys are so cheap.
That's a brand, right? I see so many M's with
mucho macho.
Yeah,
if you guys are rocking those, let me know in the comments. You cheap.
Right? I see that. You know, I see, you know, brakes well below the minimum specification that they should be when it comes to rotors, because a lot of people just slap on brake pads, you know, and the list goes on and on, right? So if you know, don't feel like you can afford this car financially to not only make the payment but also maintain it, then I would recommend not buying this. Maybe, you know, buy an M340 or something like that.
All right, so now you got two towels now. So what else?
Stacked. Maybe don't buy one if you're expecting it to feel more raw than a previous generation M, right? Like if you're coming from an E92 M3 and you're looking to get that same feel out of this, I wouldn't recommend it. Because you're not going to get the same feel. You're definitely going to get a lot more performance, right? You're definitely going to get a lot more power. You're definitely going to get a much better interior, much further advanced technology when it comes to this M versus, you know, an E9X M. But if you're looking for the same feel, then yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
But I guess there's a lot more likes than not to like it. And also too, I think one thing to add is that these cars naturally don't sound good. You know, these inline sixes from BMW, especially with the, you know, F8X and even the GX, they don't sound the greatest, which is why sometimes you kind of need a specific exhaust system to amplify the sound of it, because, you know, the E90X M3 was probably the best sounding M3 out there, and it's probably going to go down in history as the best sounding one that BMW's produced.
And that's the only thing you'll ever hear about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Anytime you bring up the E92 M3, the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth is that car sounds so good, and then nothing else follows, because that's all that car was made for, just to sound good. And I hope I piss some people off in the comments with that statement.
They're gonna flame you.
I know, I can't wait for it.
But going into this car, man, I gotta say, like, there's so many things that I do like about this car. I still am a big fan of a 4-door instead of the 2-door. How is your expectations, you know, going to a 2-door as comparable to the 4-door? Because I know you wanted the M3 CS. How has it been owning the 2-door instead?
Not bad at all. I definitely like it. I have.
You better like. You spent a lot of money on this car.
Yeah, I know, right? At that point, I have a coupe already. You know, you guys who have been following the channel,
Clapped
you know,
out
I have.
E92, yeah.
It is clapped. I have a 335i that I'm currently restoring. So it's not nothing that I'm not used to, but I will say that obviously the G8X body is a lot bigger than the F8X body was. So there is a lot of room inside the interior of this car. Like even just sitting down in the driver's seat or the passenger seat, there's a lot more room, in my opinion, than what there was in the F8X car or even previous generation, you know, BMWs. There's a lot of trunk space. There's a lot of back seat space, for that matter, which I will be getting rid of. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, no, I mean, coming into this car from a 4-door, it's no issue for me. I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife or anything like that. So I don't have anybody nagging like, oh, we need a 4-door car.
Believe me, my wife did not nag me for that. I just wanted 4 doors. I just like the look of it better.
Yeah, absolutely. The 4 doors obviously do look better, right? Because you have wider hips, the body lines, it stands out more, right? And then obviously it is the M3. So, you know, it's definitely going to look better. Again, I just didn't have that option because it didn't meet my criteria of special edition, special color, you know, brand new, so.
All right, so I do want to give you a hint. So Ben has gone through some training with the new generation M's. And Ben, are you actually allowed to talk about this, or is it like, hey, you can't talk about it because it hasn't been released yet? I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, yeah, we can definitely touch on a couple of points. It depends on the question you ask, right? If you ask me a certain question, I'll look at you like, yeah, I can't answer that, buddy. But, you know, depending on the questions you ask, then, you know, I can probably answer majority of them.
All right, so stay tuned for the next episode, all right? That's a little hint. Because he's gone through some training and he's seen a little hints about the new generation M3s, and you're probably want to hear that. But other than that, we want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of, you know, if this car or this platform is from you and hearing it from a certified BMW technician. And also too, this is a shameless plug, right? Ben is probably gonna be doing a YouTube channel. He just has to wait for his camera gear to show up, which he's been slacking on. But also too, if you want your car to be voided on the warranty, definitely hit up Fields BMW in Winter Park, right? Winter Park, Florida.
Yeah, Winter Park.
Because yeah, you'll take care of their car or void their warranty and stuff. But anything else to say to people?
I guess I'll just leave you guys with, if you don't like this generation of M, you will not like the successor that is to come.